Hello makers! In this video, I'll explain how the learning box was made. First, we started with the ideation process. Brainstorming the idea, I realized I could do so much more than just fixing a personal problem. Mainly by the influence of my past experiences and volunteer work, and the inspiration of my professors, I scratched any idea I had previously and started thinking of the necessities of people in vulnerable situations and what necessities could they have. Then I remember one of the projects I used to work on back in Mexico. It's called Aprendiendo Juntos, or Learning Together. And it's about helping kids with needs understand the material that's being taught to them. Its necessity was first seen in the middle of COVID, when kids were learning via screens and didn't really understand the information they were supposed to learn, especially kids with special needs. In an effort to do something, we started helping kids in communities we would normally give food and clothes out to. After the first couple weeks, we started getting an incredible response from the community online and requested to visit other parts of the city. The first stages of this project lasted almost 6 months, and some of the most important things I learned by managing Aprendiendo Juntos was the children's motivation and desire to learn. It's like somebody actually wanted them to learn something that's interesting, and it made them feel free to ask questions on topics they never really got a grasp of. But coming back to the topic, the biggest challenge I faced was creating a new and interesting ways so that kids could learn without feeling like they're being bored to sleep. Also, it's incredibly difficult to find affordable for visually impaired kids that can be easy to use and not hard to set up. Looking at this necessity, the idea for the learning box came to life. A box that can be fully customizable by an adult to fit any type of student. The learning box can be used for a topic or a full range of them, with a limit of 15 cards and audios that can last up to 3 minutes. Affordable materials like PLA, Arduino, and some cables. I started the construction of this make. The research was one of the main factors. First, to learn if there was something similar on the market. After learning that it's not, I started familiarizing myself with Braille, RFID, Arduino, and how to play audio through a speaker. With my short and limited understanding of C++ and Arduino, I jumped up to the challenge to start trying, and boy, was it a real challenge. The first wall I hit was learning how to actually make the RFID and microSD adapter work together. I had tried connecting them both separately and they worked perfectly, but when you are using the same pins in the Arduino, there can be interference. This I learned after rewriting the code around 6 times, thinking that was the problem. So hours and a dozen of Arduino forums later, I figured out that you cannot use the two slave selectors for the same port. Plan A was to fix this issue. I started working with a different SD reader. By using the DF mini player, I could use a different set of pins to play the music and another set for reading the cards. This thing was what I could not find anywhere. While I waited for it to arrive, I made the code and every connection necessary. I tried it on a simulator online and was ready for it. It took a while, around 7 working days, but I finally got the message that it had arrived. I went to the building's mailroom and nothing. I asked the doorman and he said everything was supposed to be there. The log recalls it arriving, but it was nowhere to be seen. We even looked in other mailboxes to make sure it wasn't misplaced. I even called the delivery agency and they told me they left it at the mailroom. I went back to the apartment to try and order another one before it was too late, while the administration figured out what had happened. This was 5 days before Monday, but the nightmare began. The only place where I could get it would take 7 working days to deliver it, and I had to search for a plan B. As for plan B, I went down to JCard and got myself an Arduino Mega, and tried to optimize for its extra ports into working. After 3 days of working 15 hours a day into getting it work, I realized out of the attempts, my best shot was using 2 Arduinos for them to communicate between each other. Only one can read the information and the other would execute the sound that it's needed to be playing. After this, some of the most anxious and stressful 2 days of my academic life happened. Nothing was working. I even called some of my Arduino and electronic friends back in Mexico. And when something was working by itself, another thing wasn't. There I was, the morning of the presentation. The previous idea was a failure, and the communication between Arduinos was not working. I made a backup plan with some push buttons so that I could physically choose which audio was supposed to be playing. Definitely not the best idea, or close enough for the project. I decided to check my email and realized someone on the class forum answered me telling me they had the component I needed. I ran to class to borrow it, and then tried the first idea I had. Trusting my research and virtual tries were correct,
I started disconnecting everything and connecting it with the new component. With 1 hour on the clock, I crossed my fingers and hoped it would work. And like a Christmas miracle, it worked flawlessly. So to end this long story, I can say with certainty that it was a roller coaster of a journey, and I learned many things in this project, like asking for help, trying even if it seems to be no light at the end of the tunnel. At last, this long journey has ended. The technology that was used is an Arduino Mega, an RFID RC522 receiver, a DF player mini, some jumpers, a breadboard, speakers, a printed PLA box, RFID cards, and tags.
Oh, and a fun fact before we go, the package with the component that got lost was actually stolen by someone walking by. Administration called me and after reviewing the security footage and told me somebody stole it. I don't know if they got confused or they were looking for something juicy, but I bet they were definitely disappointed with what they found.